Hi guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to do a real quick head control just to make sort of everything kind of functional within our rig. So, you know, obviously we've got the master control, we've got the upper and lower torso, the body control, all the wrists, ankles, knees, elbows, shoulders, hips, and really the only thing we're missing is a head control, which would go onto our head joint. Now these can take all kinds of different shapes and sizes and positions. I'm going to do something real basic here, once again just with the circle curve. So just going to create a curve, use the move tool, and then snap it up to the head joint like this using point snap up here. Okay, so keep in mind this is the spine joint just here, this is the neck joint, okay, and then this is the head joint just here in the middle. This one at the top we don't really need, but you'll tend to find a lot of riggers will pop that up there just as a bit of a reference. And as I've mentioned before, we can parent things like hats or, you know, sunglasses and stuff to this this joint, so it kind of comes in handy for kind of anchoring things to our rig. Now generally speaking, the head for our character is going to be sort of like the head's going to be sort of somewhere here like this, okay. So the neck itself would be, you know, sort of here, and then the shoulders are going to be like this, okay. So that's where the placement is. So we'd have sort of some geometry here, you know, you might have a bit of extra geometry in here, and then obviously sort of the geometry there where it connects to the head. So that's sort of the basic premise of this. You know, the torso is going to be sort of down here. So what we want to do basically is be able to rotate this joint so that we can actually get the head to look side to side, or kind of nod forwards and backwards, or tilt side to side. So that's sort of the plan with this. So the idea is that the pivot point for this handle is going to be here, but what we're going to do is actually place the handle sort of above the head, where it's really easy for the animator to select it, okay. So with the curve in position, I'm going to modify freeze transformations. That's just going to lock it into place, and then we'll delete the history on it. So edit, delete by type history. But now what I want to do is move the vertices up on that curve just to reposition the shape without moving the pivot point. So we'll switch over to component mode, and we'll just grab those vertices and just move them up. And you can make this in a whatever shape you really want. It really doesn't matter what you do with it. I've seen some people sometimes what they'll do is maybe grab sort of those 4 vertices and grab the scale tool and scale them in, and it forms like a bit of a kind of like a four-sided kind of compass shape. So some people might do that with it. It's really up to you. It doesn't really matter what you do with it, but I might leave it like that. The other thing you could do is also grab those and move them up, so you kind of get this curved shape above the character's head. Okay, so something like that might do. Okay, so I'm going to grab that, and what I want to do basically is, technically speaking, I want to be able to move the head as well if I want. Most of the time I'm probably only going to rotate it, but if I use a parent constraint on this joint connected to this object, if I need to move the head and therefore stretch the neck a little bit, I can actually do that with a parent constraint. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to select the curve, and I'm going to call this head control. Okay, so select the curve, then shift select the joint, come up to constrain, parent constraint. I'll check the options just to make sure I've got maintain offset and all of my translates and rotate selected, and I'll hit add. So now when I select the head control, I can rotate the character's head around like this. And as I said before, if I need to, technically speaking, I can actually move the head and it'll make the neck stretch like this. Okay, so the only thing we need to do now is make sure that the head control is actually part of the rest of the rig. At the moment, you can see that the head control is not going to move with the rest of the the rig, and obviously we don't want to connect it directly to the master control, because if we then move the torso, the head's going to remain where it is. So what I need to do is parent the head control to the torso control, the upper torso. So I'll just select the head, shift select the torso control, and hit P to parent it. So now if I grab the torso control and I move it, you can see that the head's going to go with it. Now, the only issue that we're going to have here, obviously, is that the torso being controlled by a joint that's driven by an IK spline is that when we're moving it around and even rotating it like this, you might find that there's a little bit more movement in the head than we generally anticipate. Okay, so just bear that in mind. This is a pretty basic rig, and this is just to give you a rough idea. So that might be something you need to keep in mind if you're doing massive amounts of movement with the torso. But a lot of what you guys are going to be doing is not really going to be heavily driven by that torso very much. Okay. Now, if you need to, you could also create a neck control and place that in there as well. So we can give that a go. Let's drop in a neck control. So something like this. Let's snap that up to the neck. In there like that. I'm just going to scale this up a little bit. I'll freeze the transformations on it, modify, freeze transformations, delete the history on it, like that. And what I'll do with the neck control is actually grab the points in it, because obviously that's going to be inside the body. So what I'm going to do is just sort of bring this up, and perhaps what I might do is move it off the back of the character, and then maybe just angle it around a little bit and scale it down. So this will kind of sit behind the character's neck, like that. Okay. So this one is actually going to drive this one down here. So let's see, how can we do this? We might try a parent constraint again. Let's see if this will work. So we'll select the control. I'll call this neck control. Okay, neck control, shift select the neck, parent constrain it. So that's going to give us that movement in there. That's going to give us that movement. At the moment, I'm just kind of spitballing this. I'm trying out a couple of options. So yeah, that's going to move that. And that's going to move that. So what I've done there is parented this control. Instead of pairing it directly to the torso, I've reparented this head control onto the neck control. This joint, the neck joint's parent constrained onto the neck control. The head joint is still parent constrained to the head control there. And if I grab the neck control and parent that, just a regular parent option, P on the keyboard, to the torso, you can see now the head more or less moves a little bit better with it than it did before. There is still a little bit of an adjustment, sort of over movement there, but it's not as bad as it was before. And I can still kind of twist side to side like that. Now you'll notice that the shoulder, the collar joints, I should say, these collar joints here don't actually move with the torso. So when I bend it, you can see that they're not actually really rotating with it. They're just kind of floating like that. With these ones, they're probably not going to really offer much control in this particular configuration. You can see we're getting a lot of weird rotation over there as well. So not weird rotation, but you can see when we kind of tilt this around, it kind of shifts a little bit. So in these circumstances, like when we're testing our rigs, we might find that we need to remove these collar joints anyway. They might not necessarily serve as much function with the current setup, so that's all part of the testing phase that we'll do a bit later on. But those are the main controls that we've got in, and we can see that they're kind of functioning. They seem to be functioning for the most part, so we should be pretty good to go with that. So I'm going to leave this video here. Basically, once you've got sort of all of this set up, then what you'll need to do is bind your character onto the skeleton. And that's a pretty basic system to use. So within the rigging tab, what you'll need to do is use the bind skin option just there. But I'll do a quick video showing that anyway, and you guys can kind of apply that to your characters once you're ready with the rig. So yeah, I'll leave this here, and I will see you next time.